What's going on, you guys? It's Resto, and today we're going to be discussing the 19 Twink Warrior. In today's video, we're going to go over the gear, the best in slot choices, along with the alternatives that you're going to be using until you get those best in slots. I'm also going to be going over the talents, the typical builds that you're going to be using throughout your battleground experiences. I'm also going to go over a little tips and tricks for the warrior, kind of make your guys' PvP a little bit smoother and just to kind of help you guys out in general. Without further ado though, let's get right into the guide. Alright, you guys, welcome back to the 19 Twink series guide. So we're going here into a 19 warrior, a good old classic, a fun twink at most. Definitely something that requires a little bit of a skill gap, if I'm going to say up front. Going into this twink, you know, there's a lot of different ways you can play a warrior, a lot of different ways you can be annoying. But definitely a good 19 Twink warrior, or just a good warrior in general who knows the class in terms of swapping out those stances and knowing when to apply the slows, etc. I mean, it just overall makes the player and the twink itself that much more of a threat. Warriors are definitely a must-have in a composition for a battleground in any game that you go into, so it's definitely something nice to have. But we're gonna go and dive right into the gear. You know, let's not waste any time. But moving on to the hats, we're looking at the Lucky Fishing hat. You guys can get this every Sunday from around like 2 to 4 during your guys' service competition. Depending on your server, it really depends on how competitive it will be in terms of space. I personally play on Fairlina, so a lot of people are on my server, you know, going for the tournament, participating in the event. So I mean, there is quite a bit of people to kind of mess around with in terms of me trying to find space. I don't really try to find anywhere special. I just stick to the beach, call it a day. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. No big deal. The two twinks that I do have, my Druid and my Rogue, I got the Lucky Fishing hat in the same day, two of them. So I guess you could say that is a Lucky Fishing hat, but not everyone's going to be that lucky, guys. But it is possible for it to drop. This depends on your guys' RNG and how lucky you guys are with your characters. Moving on to the neck, we're looking at the Scout's Medallion. This is the PvP medallion that you guys can get through PvP. You no longer need a rank for this. Super easy to get, guys, super obtainable. You guys can honestly get this within a single battleground, both the ring and the neck, on a Warsong Gulch weekend. If you guys are looking to get it on a non-battleground weekend, you guys can easily get this within 2 to 3 games. Just focus on objectives. Mid and graveyard does nothing for you guys. Just take that in consideration. You get more honor if you win the game and go on to the next and win the next one, rather than sitting in one game farming. It really gets you nowhere. You're wasting time at that point. Moving on to the shoulders, you guys are looking at the Stained Shadowcraft shoulders. Now, the reason why we're going for this is for the hit. The idea is to go for a hit cap on a warrior. Your melee, you want that hit cap, especially as a warrior. You want to make sure those shots are landing. We want to make sure we're getting as much DPS output as possible. Now, if you are Draenei, it's a little bit different. Since you guys already have a hit cap on your guy, well, I should say hit cap, but you guys have a hit increase on that specific race. Instead of the Stained Shadowcraft, you guys would rock the Polished Spalgers of Valor for the crit, since you guys don't need to worry about hit. So that is something nice that you guys get to focus on as well. But moving on to the cloak is the Sentry's Cloak. We're looking at a little bit of a balance of stamina and strength here, guys. We want to be a little bit beefy as a warrior. We want to be able to tank a lot, but we also want a health pool to kind of mess around with. Take in consideration, every class that I've been doing a guide on is no talent oriented and has no buffs. We're looking at just the raw character itself. That's how I want to present it to you guys, so you guys can see what exactly you're working with until buffs get applied. So just take that in consideration as well. Moving on to the chest, we're looking at the stained Shadowcraft tunic. We're going to go ahead and slap 4 all stats on here. Definitely don't want to go any lower. Always want to stick with the best enchants now. Guys, we're looking at a previous expansion in terms of enchants. We definitely should be able to afford these by now, especially with our 80s. So this is something that are really cheap. They're not really expensive. They're super cheap enchants now, so you guys are definitely able to afford these enchants without any issue possible. Moving on to the bracers, we're looking at the fortified bracers of strength. We're looking at going at raw DPS here. Throw on some 9 strength on here. The reason why I like these builds is because it's like a glass cannon. I personally am a huge fan of glass cannon. There are other builds that you guys can run in terms of gear. Like, for example, moving on to the weapon, you guys will be rocking the heirloom, the Arcanite Reaper for the critical strike, but obviously the most damage output. Throw some Crusader Strike on here. You don't have to run Crusader Strike. You could also run Fury Weapon if you guys really wanted to. There's different variations of this weapon that you guys could utilize. Definitely both are useful, both are fun. I know like another build, some people are rocking like a stamina strength type build over here, like of the bear, and then some people right here, instead of running the Arcanite Reaper, you can run like the Runic Darkblade. You can run a Night Reaver with Fury Weapon. That's a really fun build, especially in later expansions. Double Night Reaver with on a Fury Warrior with Fury Weapon, or was it Elemental Fury or whatever mop introduced. That is a super fun build. But right now, Night Reaver with Fury Weapon is pretty similar to the classic build. It's a good weapon to kind of rock as well. And if you guys are lucky, you guys could get a Duskbringer. That is a super good weapon, but super rare as well. Good luck farming that. It's probably just as rare. Actually, it is rarer than the Gloomshroud armor. If anybody recognizes that name, the Gloomshroud armor is a bitch and a half to go for. I do have a Gloomshroud on my rogue, and that was a pain to go for, guys. So don't expect a Duskbringer to drop. If you do, you are extremely lucky. 100% rock that weapon, because not only is it super rare, but it is super good. We're looking at 60 to 80 hunter damage on chance of the bolt, on top of like up to a top of 86 DPS. So we're looking at just amount of the Arcanite Reaper, but we're having a proc on top of that. Throw on Fury Weapon. You guys are literally going to be a powerhouse. That weapon is insane. So that is something that you guys could rock as well. But like I said, I'm not listing it on here because I'm not expecting everybody to rock around a Duskbringer. It's got a 0.01% drop rate from Shadowfang Keep. So it's definitely going to be a grind and a half to go for. You guys are probably spending months going for this stuff. But anyways, moving on to the weapon, we're looking at the Charmed Ancient Bow. Once again, we want to go for the hit cap here. Mainly the attack power is nice as well, but it's mainly for the hit. We want to be able to have as much hit as possible. That way we're able to land all of our swings. Moving on to the gloves, we're looking at Thorbia's gauntlets. We're going to go ahead and throw 7 strength on here. If you guys want to put stamina or defensive or just like extra stuff to make your guys beefier, you guys are more than welcome to. Me personally, I like to go for more of a glass cannon build when it comes to these type of characters. I like to have a glass cannon with a little bit of stamina, if that makes sense, because I don't want to go pure glass cannon. I will flop unless I'm rocking with a healer, then 100% I'll go for it. But if I'm rocking alone, I like to go for a little bit of glass cannon and a little bit of stamina. That way I'm able to produce a lot of damage, but also keep in a health for my own. Think of it like my Hunter build. If you guys watch the Hunter at all, it's pretty similar to that. It's really strong in terms of DPS, but I have a little bit of stamina to keep me up as well, so it's not 100% glass cannon. We're looking at about an 80% glass cannon build. It's just a nice fun build to run because you're able to produce a lot of damage and kind of help wipe mid for your team so they can progress past, escort your FC, or just be able to kill the FC a little bit quicker. That's kind of my objective. I'm an objective player, so I like to be able to build my character around high DPS so that way I can go ahead and kill the FC as quickly as possible or as efficiently as possible, or maybe just get enough damage done so if they do outrun me, the people in mid can finish them up and clean them out. So that's pretty much my mindset when I go for my gear. You guys might be a little bit different. You know, you might want to swap things up a little bit. No big deal. Moving on to the belt, we're looking at the Cobrand's Grasp. Nice, good overall DPS belt. There is a bind to equip belt that comes from Wailing Caverns. I think it's like the rune something. It's 8 strength. That belt becomes in play in later expansions, so what I would recommend is getting that belt now, just in case a Cataclysm Classic or Mop Classic, I'm hoping for Mop, I really do, love that expansion, comes out. You guys have this gear available for you. That's just my recommendation. Going into the pants, we're looking at Leggings of the Fane. I'm going to go ahead and slap 16 armor on this. This one you guys can apply yourself. So go ahead and grab these super easy pants to get from Wailing Caverns. Nothing really too complicated about this one right here. Moving on to the boots, we're looking at the Draftman's boots. This is 5 stamina, 5 strength. Go ahead, slap minor increase on this. You guys want to make sure you're able to be mobile within the battleground. If you guys want to put strength or any type of agility enchant on here, you guys are more than welcome to, if you guys really want to build up some armor, crit, and attack power. But I recommend going minor speed increase. You want to be able to, stay on top of your enemies. You want to be able to get around as quickly as possible on a warrior, especially. Being able to have this little speed increase is just nice to have overall for any scenario that you're going into. There's really no alternative in my eyes going for this unless you're being an FC. That's the only thing. Moving on to the rings, we're looking at the classic duo here, the PvP ring with the Dread Pirate ring. Now, if you guys cannot get the Dread Pirate ring as Horde, no big deal. Go ahead and throw Seal of Sylvanas, or you can rock a metal ring as well, or something that's just, strength, agility, or in the mix of stamina. One of the two you guys can rock. But those 2 rings is what I would go with instead of a Dread Pirate ring if you guys are not able to get your hands on this at all. No big deal if you guys can't, like I said. But same thing with the ring, with that neck, guys. This is so easy to get. 2 to 3 games max is all you guys really need. Just focus on objectives, win your games, and you'll 100% have this ring and neck. Moving on to the trinkets. The classic, always must-have duo is the Heirloom Trinket for the Resilience and the AGM for the Stamina Boost and the Bubble. Guys, this is pretty much like a second life. You can't go wrong with this at all. If you guys don't have an AGM, no worries. You guys could rock a Minor Combobulator, or even better, go ahead and rock the Heirloom Haste Trinket. Might as well boost your haste a little bit. It's not going to be a huge increase, but it is something nice to have if you guys can't get an AGM. So those are 2 options that you guys can roll with. No big deal if you guys don't have this. It's not the end of the world, but it is really nice to have, and definitely something you guys can work for over time. Moving on to the Alliance BiS. Nothing much really changes other than a few items. So what we're looking at here for the weapon is the Glacial Stone. This is an Alliance only thing. Now when it comes down to the Glacial weapon, guys, you guys are looking at mainly the proc. It's the same DPS as a Bloodied Arcanite Reaper. This is definitely something you guys can go for. I recommend. It's pretty much, think of it like a Shadow Fang, or if even better, it's pretty much like a Dustbringer, but it's a opened availability. This is why I say the Dustbringer is so powerful and good to have, because of that proc of the Shadow Bolt. But that's pretty much all there is to that. I mean, the shoulders, the cloak, the chest, and the bracers are all going to be the same. But we're going on to the pants. You guys are going to rock the Chassis of Westfall. This is a nice 11 strength boost. You guys are once again going to go put 16 armor on this one. This comes from a quest that you guys can obtain through the Alliance faction. Super nice pants to have. And then moving on to the boots, you guys are going to rock the silver linked foot guards. This is 7 stamina, 3 strength. Since you guys cannot obtain the Draftman boots, that is a Horde only item. This is a good alternative to have instead. And then same thing with the rings and the trinket, guys. Same exact items. Go ahead and swap this up. However, if you guys cannot get the Dread Pirate ring, instead of rocking a Seal of Sylvanas or a metal ring, you guys have access to a Seal of Rin. Definitely rock this instead until you guys can get this, or even rock this instead of the ring. The only thing that you're going to be missing out on is the hit. That is the main reason for this. If you guys don't care about 2 hit and you don't want to be hit capped, go ahead and rock the Seal of Rin. Vice versa, Horde as well. Completely up to you guys what you guys want to do. I just recommend the hit cap so you guys aren't missing your swings. Moving on to the FC set, because warriors make really good FCs when there are none. Moving on to this, we're looking at a little bit of item change here. On the cloak, this is for the horde only. This comes from a reputation grind that takes about 2 to 3 hours depending on how efficient you are as a player. You're going to go ahead and throw 70 armor on this. Obviously you guys want to have multiple cloaks, so that way when it comes down to the battleground that you guys are in, if you guys have multiple melee, obviously you rock 70 armor. If you guys have a load of casters and no melee, obviously you have the chance between all resistance and shadow resistance. You guys are going to be swapping it up, kind of making that adaptation, you know, based off of your surroundings. It's always nice to have multiple cloaks, so make sure you guys have that in your inventory. That way you guys are able to make that adaptation. This cloak comes from the vendor, and then this blade comes from a quest that's a part of the reputation grind to get this cloak, so you'll get this in the process before you get this. Make sure you guys are choosing the Dawn blade and not the other blade. The Dawn blade is going to be your best for the 5 stamina increase. You guys are going to put 15 agility on this to help with the armor boost. This is a really nice weapon to have. Same with the shield. The Dead Skull shield is a horde only shield. You guys are going to get this from a quest. Super easy chain. It is a bit lengthy, no worries. Just go ahead and snag this when you guys can. Going to go throw in 7 stamina on here. The idea as an FC for a warrior is just to boost up your guys' health points. As you can see, we're only almost at 1800 health with no buffs. That is nuts. And then moving on to the bracers, we're looking at the steel clasp bracers. These are also from a quest from the horde. What's really nice about a horde warrior is all of your gear, guys, mainly comes from quests. You really don't have to buy a lot of gear. Super nice and super convenient. And then moving on to the chest, instead of the 4 stats, guys, we're looking at 100 health. So make sure you guys have multiple of these in your bags, and just go ahead and slap 100 health on this to help increase our health pool a little bit. The shoulders still stay the same. Obviously these will never change, and no matter what tune you're playing on. And then we're looking at the bow. At the hit rating, we mainly want hit for an FC. Like I said, hit cap is still important, guys, as an FC, because we want to make sure we're landing our slows. We want to make sure we're landing any type of spell, so that way we're able to kite and maneuver around the battleground. So definitely want to rock the bow. You guys could rock other weapons as well, like a throat piercer's blade, or the throat piercer's throwing knife. You can also rock the PvP gun if you guys want to rack up your resilience. I mean, there's other things you guys can do. I just recommend this because of the hit. Over onto the gloves, instead of the Thobia's gauntlets, you're looking at the Defender's gauntlets of the bear. We're looking at an even balance of stamina and strength here. We're throwing on 15 agility. We want to make sure we're boosting up our armor as much as possible. I mean, right here we're unbuffed. If we go into defensive stance, moving into an FC, I mean, you guys are looking beefy as 1667 armor. There's a lot of stuff that we can do here as a warrior to kind of mitigate a lot of damage, and one thing as an FC is you want to make sure that armor is pumping up. If you have a druid with a buff of Mark of the Wild, that's even better, because you guys are boosting up even more. Warriors can be super tanky. Not as tanky as a warrior because bear form's OP, but if you guys don't have a druid in your game, a warrior is the next best thing, in my opinion, in terms of holding the flag on defense. A paladin's nice too, but in my opinion, a warrior is way better because you guys have block. You guys have a high armor increase. And they're just overall nice kiting mechanics as well compared to a paladin. Paladin is nice, but it's better to have one as a healer or an off healer instead of someone that's FCing. I will say they are nice to kite around with and run around with if you guys don't have a druid, so a paladin is nice in that aspect. But in terms of just straight out holding the flag, getting it across mid, whatever the case is, a warrior is super nice to have and super reliable to go to as well. It's even a nice pass off as well. You know, getting out of the flag room as a warrior is really nice. Just being able to dodge and block a lot of the attacks and then just slow everybody going out of it. It's super convenient. But moving on to the belt, we're looking at the fortified belt of the bear as well. We're going in comparing in these two. It's just mainly going for an even balance of strength and stamina, guys, because we don't want to lose all of our strength, but we also want to maintain a good health pool as well, and that's what this is going to come into play in doing. And moving on to the pants, we're looking at the grunt leggings of the bear. Same thing, guys, 5 stamina, 5 strength. The only difference is we're slapping on 24 armor on here. Like I mentioned in every other video, I always recommend applying this enchant by yourself. The reason why you're taking away a lot of the risk of any type of error from happening if you ever let a friend or a random stranger in Orgrimmar or Dalaran or wherever you are do this for you, because if you do it wrong yourself, you can only blame yourself. That is why I say do it yourself. Plus, all you need is a level 20 or higher character to be able to utilize this enchant. Can't apply this yourself, so it's easier to send these bind to equip items to your main, put on the enchant that way, and then send it back. That way you guys don't have to run around, find somebody to help you, just do it yourself. If you guys don't have a main, hey, just level it to 20, get a death knight, whatever the case is, you know, just have someone designated to send stuff to and send back. Really not too complicated. Moving on to the boots, we're looking at the Savage Trotters here. These are really nice to have because of the 9 stamina. This is a huge stamina boost with 134 armor on that. You cannot go wrong with that. And then you're going to throw a minor speed increase on this because obviously we're an FC. We want to make sure we're having stuff like this available to us to be able to maneuver the battleground as quickly as possible. So I really wouldn't go any other than minor speed. If you really want to and you don't care about being fast on the ground and being able to kind of get around to places faster, go ahead and throw 7 stamina on it. Boost up your HP even more. Another thing you could do is the silver link. This is going to be for the alliance though, but I mean 9 stamina, minor speed, can't go wrong. If you want to throw 7 stam on here, by all means go for it. Nothing wrong with it. It's just I recommend going with minor speed. That way you're able to maneuver a lot easier. And then moving on to the ring, you're looking at the Seal Sylvanas, obviously for the stamina increase, and then you're looking at the Dread Pirate Ring for the hit. If you guys, like I said, don't care for the hit, go ahead and throw on a Blood Ring. Just as good, 2 extra stamina, that'll bump you into 1800 exactly, but it's up to you whether or not you guys want to sacrifice those stats or not. It is a preference, however, I just recommend having a hit cap on your builds. That way you guys can land your hits and not have to worry about anything missing. That's just my recommendation. You guys don't have to go with it. Those are the alternatives that you guys can roll with. Completely up to you. And then obviously your dynamic duo with your heirloom trinket, the 6 resilience, and the AGM. Once again, if you guys don't have an AGM, you guys can use the heirloom haste trinket, or you can ride a minor recombobulator that you get from professions. That's another really easy, accessible trinket that anyone can get. So, I mean, it's really up to you guys and what you guys want to rock in the trinket slot. That is definitely something that isn't really a priority in terms of having a must-have in that slot. You can put whatever you want in it until you get this instead. Or you could just rock whatever you have in there forever and not get this. You are missing out on a bubble and a stamina boost, so that there is that. So definitely want to get this over time, but it definitely doesn't have to be, you know, right then and there. There are alternatives that you guys can have in the meantime. The Alliance FC is going to be a little bit different. You are swapping out a little bit of items, not too many, just mainly swapping out the faction related, like the cloak, the weapon, the shield, and then the ring. That's really all that's changing. Going into the FC build as a alliance, you're looking at the miner's cape, 70 armor. You guys want to get multiple of these and put on those enchants like I was mentioning before, because you guys want to be able to have a versatile build and kind of be able to adapt to your surroundings of the opponents that you're facing. So there is that. Moving on to the bracers, I don't think I mentioned this on the Horde bracers. You guys want to rock stamina. This is very similar to the Wrangler's wristband, but you just want to rock fortified bracers of the stamina and throw 9 stamina on this. So that's going to be your bracers. And then the weapon and shield, you're looking at the gold-plated buckler and the heirloom sword. throw 15 agility on this, and then throw 7 stamina on this. The gold-plated buckler is going to be the next best slot in comparison to the Dead Skull shield. Just because of the stamina, we're not really looking at any other stats other than the stamina. That's really what's going to help us out here. We want to be able to once again have a high health pool. That's the only thing. And then obviously there's no Seal of Sylvanas, so we're looking at the Blood Ring for the Alliance. And then like I said, you guys don't have to rock the Dread Ring if you don't want the hit. Just go ahead and throw on a Seal of Rin. Just as good, just as nice. You guys are getting a lot more stats. The only thing that you're missing out on is the hit, but 2 hit goes a long way, guys. 13 for your guys' hit cap. That's nice to have, so definitely want to rock that. And then you guys want to rock the Chassis of Westfall still, 16 armor, mainly because of the strength. Might as well go with the extra strength and not cripple yourself and go 5 stamina, 5 strength. Doesn't really make sense. So you guys are going to throw this on instead, so you guys get a little bit more of a boost on your guys' DPS. And then same gloves, same belt, because these are both bind to equipped. Anyone can get these items, super obtainable. And then once again, if you guys want to swap out the bow for the resilience gun, you guys are more than welcome to do that as well. That also is a good option to run if you guys want extra resilience. No big deal. For the Draenei, and since you guys already have a hit cap increase, I should keep saying hit cap increase. Since you guys already have a hit increase, a hit bonus, you guys don't have to rock this. You guys can rock these instead. These are going to be your go-to because of the resilience, and then you guys have strength as well. So you guys have a little bit of more of a beefier build just because of your racial passives. When it comes to other weapons that you guys want to use, like I was mentioning before, you guys could use the Night Reaver with the Fury weapon. You guys could rock a Dustbringer if you guys are able to get your hands on that. You can run a Runic Darkblade. The Runic Darkblade I don't really recommend as much. If you guys are gonna rock a Runic Darkblade, you might as well run a Night Reaver. In my opinion, it's just a little bit better than a Runic Darkblade. It's just better procs. It's a better weapon overall. It's overall better thing to kind of roll with. But the Runic Darkblade's nice just because of, you know, status. It's a nice little sword to have that's different. It's unique. So completely up to you guys. If you guys are gonna run a Runic Darkblade, go ahead and throw on Fury weapon. And then here is another build that you guys can rock with as well. If you guys are trying to be in defensive stance and you guys are trying to, like, you know, regain some health, here's a good scenario that you guys can put yourself in is Shadowfang with life stealing. That way you guys get some health back, and then you guys are looking at the grunt shield of blocking, so you guys are maximizing your block by a lot, and then put Felsteel Spike on here as well to put some damage output onto somebody that's attacking you. This is a really nice combo to have if you guys are ever in a pinch and you need to get some health back, or you're just really not surviving the situation and you have a lot of melee on you. This is something that can help you out if you have a healer by you, especially, so they can help kind of produce a little bit more health onto you as you are kind of putting yourself in defensive stance. Another good combo is the Razor's Edge with the Arctic Buckler. Believe it or not, you guys don't have to be casters for the spirit builds, so this is something that's really nice to have if you guys are trying to regenerate some health. You know, throw on some 20 spirit, so you have 22 spirit in total on the Razor's Edge, and then you got the Arctic Buckler with the Vitality. This is increasing your health every 5 seconds with some spirit as well on top of some frost resistance. So it's really nice to have as an overall shield because this is providing a nice regeneration MP5 build, as you will, to your guys' warriors, so you guys are able to regenerate health a little bit quicker. This is nice to have while you guys are out of combat or even in combat. You know, running away and kind of having this on is something that you guys can do. That's pretty much all there is in terms of gear, guys. There's really not much to a warrior when it comes down to the gear. You guys could mess around with some items, don't get me wrong. This is just what I would rock with if you guys are trying to rock out a warrior for the best optimal build possible. I have seen people rock some other things. If it's efficient, or not if it's efficient, if it's viable, not so much. In a way, you know, there are builds that work for a reason and they're designated for a specific playstyle. However, this is just what I would run if it were me, right? This isn't like you have to run these items. You know, there are other things you can substitute instead. Like I was mentioning, the Runic Darkblade, the Night Reaver. I mean, there's other things you guys can use instead of these items. So, I mean, it's up to you. This is just what I would run. These are the sets that I would use if it were to be me playing a warrior. Moving on to the professions though, we're looking at herbalism. Every single twink that you guys make has to have herbalism. Lifeblood is just too good to pass up, guys. 720 over 5 seconds. You cannot beat that. That is so nice to have. And then for the secondary, you guys are gonna go with mining for the 7 stamina increase. You guys could go with the skinning for the 9 crit or the 9 crit. I don't recommend that. I'd rather have 70 extra stamina on my warrior compared to 9 extra crit. So, I mean, it's up to you guys what you guys want to use. This is just my preference, what I would run. This is actually really nice to have as well if you're going to plan on making an FC set. But if you're going just for pure DPS, you guys could go with skinning and get crit. But even then, I still recommend having mining for toughness. It's just too good to pass up. That 70 extra stamina goes a long way. But like I said, once again, it's up to you guys what you want to run. But those are the 2 options that you guys have for your secondary profession, skinning or mining. Other than that, that is the warrior. So now that we've discussed the gear and the glyphs, let's go ahead and move on to the talents and discuss that. Alright guys, so this is the talents for the warrior. Now, with the talent builds as a warrior, there are definitely a good amount of builds that you guys can utilize as a warrior, depending on who you decide to play as being this class. Now, what I mean by that is, are you trying to be an FC all the time? Are you trying to be a tank all the time? Are you trying to be aggressive? You know, like those type of scenarios. You know, how is your playing style going to be? And with that, answering that question is going to determine, you know, what build you go with. Now, this build right here is like your go-to DPS build. You're putting 2 into improved rend, increasing the bleed damage. A lot of your damage as a warrior, guys, is coming from rend. This is huge. And then you're going to put 3 into armored to the teeth. This is increasing your attack power by 3 for every 108 army value that you have. As you could see earlier when we were going over the gear, you guys have a lot of armor, so you're going to have a lot of attack power increase. And then you're going to put the last bits of points that you have left into cruelty. This is increase your chance to get a critical strike with melee weapons by 5%. Big bonus. This is a really good overall DPS build, generic, good go-to cookie cutter. Now, if you want to swap it up a little bit, there are different builds that you guys can go with. Now, what I mean by that is if you're trying to have, you know, more of a aggressive build, so you can have, let's say you do 3 into deflection, or actually no, even better. So you can go into improved heroic strike, improved rend, and then improved charge, and then you can put the last 3 into improved thunderclap. Right, this is a really good DPS build if you guys are just trying to be just an overall general player. You know, you want to be a little bit more mobile, but you're in the fight like a lot. Right, think of it that way. Like you're in the team fight a lot. This build right here is good for both team fights and being solo. So, I mean, it really depends on how you want to be a warrior, if that makes sense. So, I mean, like you're putting 3 into improved heroic strike. This is reducing the cost of your heroic strike ability by 3 rage points. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it does go a long way. You're still putting improved rend into here because you still want to have that DPS output. And then you're doing improved charge, which increases the amount of rage generated by your charge ability by 10. This is really nice because you're always going to be charging, regenerating, and keeping up that rage. And then you want to have improved thunderclap. What this is going to be doing is pretty much reducing the cost of the thunderclap ability, and it's increasing the damage and the slow effect, which is really nice for mid game. If you want to be able to slow, kite, whatever the case is, this is a really good build to utilize for that if you want to be more of a support DPS, if that makes sense. So this is a really nice build for that aspect. Now, another build that you can go for as well is, so let's say you want to be able to maximizing your crit chance and your bleed damage, you know, but you want some rage management as well, right? Let's say you want that. So what you would want to do, obviously you want to max out rend for your max DPS for the rend. Then you want to be able to put all of your points into cruelty to be able to increase that critical strike chance by 5%. And then you really honestly have an option, and this is what's really nice, is you can either put the last points into improved heroic strike, or you can put it into unbridled wrath, which gives you a chance to generate an additional rage point when you deal damage with your melee weapon. Now this is a really nice talent to go with. Me personally, having 7 points into here, I'd put the last 3 into here, just to be able to have that chance to increase the rank 3 for the Unbridled Wrath, because it's going to be really nice. You're always going to be able to do damage. I wouldn't really focus too much on the Heroic Strike. You can if you want to prioritize the rage points, completely up to you. But me personally, if I'm going for a crit build, I really like the idea of giving me a chance to generate an additional rage point when I'm dealing damage with my own weapon that's always going to be hitting people. So this right here is going to be nice because it's going to complement being able to get more Heroic Strikes out. But this could be a vice versa, double whammy as well. This is just for all of your spells. This is just for one spell. Obviously, Heroic Strike is going to be utilized a lot, but it really just depends on which route you want to go with. You can put it into either or, completely up to you guys, and how you want to distribute those points. Another build that you guys can go with as well, I like to call this like a defensive build, if you will, kind of like being able to optimize your damage, but you're also mitigating the damage taken, right? Or yeah, taken. So you would put all of your points into deflection. This is increasing your parry chance by 5%, and then you want to put the other 5 into cruelty, which is going to increase your critical strike with melee weapons by 5%. This is a really good, even balanced build for people that aren't really as experienced with warriors, or maybe they just want to be balls deep all the time and they don't want to be able to get hit a lot. They want to deflect a lot of the damage coming at them. This is a really good build to run as well. With that being said, there are other defensive builds that you guys could run, if you're running shields a lot as well. So like, for example, let's say you want like a balance between, a defensive stance and rage management. Something that you guys could do is max out the Heroic Strike. That way you're reducing the rage points and you're able to, get some sort of damage out, because this build's going to be requiring a lot of the talents put into defensive spells. And then what you're going to do here is put 2 into improved blood rage, and then you want to put the rest into shield specialization. Now this is going to increase your chance to block attacks with a shield by 5%, and has a 100% chance to generate 5 rage with a block, dodge, or parry. This is huge. Being able to do something that can passively increase your rage, you're always gonna be able to pump something out. So like, this is something, if you want to be an FC all the time, this is really nice to have. Or maybe you just want to be a tank DPS and mid, rock the shield all the time. This is something that's really nice to run as well if you want to run this. And this is increasing the rage generated by your blood rage by 50%. This is super nice to have. Being with blood rage, I believe, yes. So this is something that you guys can do in your minor glyph. So if you are going to run this, to complement this, you guys could reduce your health, the health cost of your blood rage by 100%. So it's just solely regenerating your rage and not taking away your health. Otherwise, on a minor glyph, if you're not running this build, is to have a glyph of charge. This is really nice to have if you're going to be just a generic warrior, because it's increasing the range of your charge ability by 5 yards, which is absolutely massive. Think of it like a druid increasing the range with Cyclone and Endgame, right? That 5 yards goes a long ways, because it's creating that distance between you guys. We're able to catch up or get closer and connect with your opponent. So this is going to be obviously your go-to if you're going to be rocking just all the other builds. But if you're going to run this specific build, I recommend rocking Glyph of Blood Rage. That way you're able to not sacrifice any health, and you're only solely focusing on the rage that you're generating. And then for the major glyphs, you're looking at Glyph of Rending. This is increasing your rend by a total of 6 seconds, which is massive. That's 6 seconds that you guys are looking at an extra rend on your opponent. able to spread more out there and just maximize your damage in the middle of a team fight. This is really nice for competitive games, being able to spread out your rends like that and just kind of maximize your damage, being able to spread dots out, kind of like a feral druid, if you will. This is something that I recommend going with as an everyday warrior. However, there are other alternatives. You could also run this as well, which is super nice. If you want to be somebody that's like a real good team player, you're playing in an objective standpoint, this is something that's really nice to have. It gives your hamstring an ability of a 10% chance to immobilize a target for 5 seconds, which is nuts. Think of it like a paladin stun. This is also really nice to have if you'd rather not increase your rend ability by 6 seconds. You could give yourself a stun as a warrior. This is a really cool and fun talent to run. Obviously, it's not looking to maximize your damage, but it is something that is super fun to run that you guys definitely can use that's not useless. So definitely have an option between the two, a little bit of a variety. Now, one more build that you guys can run. This is a little bit of a unique build that I was looking at. So you have the option, right? Now, when you're running into this, you want to put deflection into consideration, right? You're looking at more of a balanced build in terms of, DPS and generation of rage. So what I mean by that is this right here, you can put 2 into rend if you'd like, or you can take the 2 out of rend, put 3 into deflection and 2 into improved heroic strike, and then you put all of your talents into tactical mastery. Now you have 2 talents that are left over. So with that being said, you can put 2 into rend, or what you could do is put 2 more into deflection, right? Increasing your parry chance by 5%. Or you can take a point away and put it into heroic strike and have an even balance, or vice versa. You have the option to kind of maneuver these talents. This will always be maxed out no matter what. Now, when it comes to the combination of all of these, that is completely up to you, right? You could do this if you really wanted to. There's a different variation that you can have of this. It's whatever you want to prioritize more. If you want to have DPS output with a little bit of parry chance, you can put 2 into here, and that way you're able to maximize all of this. But I mean, this is definitely a cool little build that you guys can maneuver and kind of adjust to your liking. Just with these 4 talents right here, definitely have the option to kind of choose what you want in terms of combinations. So this is something that I really wanted to kind of show you guys, because it is something cool to have. It's something unique that not a lot of people run, but is still very viable. This is really nice if you plan on like changing stances a lot and you want to be able to kind of maintain, because right here what Tactical Mastery does, you retain up to additional 50% of your rage points when you change stances. Also greatly increases the threat generated by Bloodthirst, Modal Strike. That doesn't really matter, it's for more PvE. But the main point of having Tactical Mastery is to retain that rage. As a warrior, as you're going to get more experience into being a warrior as a 19 Twink, you're going to be changing stances a lot. So that's why I really wanted to show this, because it retains some of that rage when you guys are swapping the stances a lot. That way you guys are able to maintain the DPS output or any type of defensive output that you guys need for whatever the case is on your guys' stance change. So this is something that you guys can look at, kind of play around with in terms of the combination that you want and what you want to prioritize. But it's literally just these 4 talents, guys. Super cool to have. Definitely going to be a unique oddball out in the battlegrounds, but definitely something that you guys can look at and kind of think about if you guys want to rock that. But those are the different builds that you guys can have as a warrior. You definitely have a variety. It's really nice to have a variety in terms of talents, because cookie cutter builds can get boring. Being able to swap it up, change your play style a little bit as a 19 Twink is actually really fun to do, because you guys don't really have a lot as is. To be able to give yourself a variety and an option to kind of explore goes a long way. But other than that, guys, that's pretty much all there is to a 19 Twink warrior. That's all the talents. If you guys liked what you've seen, go ahead and drop a like down below. Let me know what you guys want to see going forward. I usually just kind of pick a random comment and just kind of post on the screen, as you guys have been seeing lately, to show you guys just what I picked. Other than that, it's been Resto, guys. See you guys next time.